Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros MLB. It's time to make some deals. It's me, Joey P. Joe P's up here with me, of course, is the Welsh. And it's time to look ahead once again this week to players that we want to buy and sell for our fantasy baseball teams. And Welsh, we're going to start off with a big name, Lawrence Butler, who has been underwhelming this year. But if you recall, last year, it was kind of a slow start for Lawrence Butler as well. And I wonder if there's some opportunity here. We saw him in that first half of last year really underperform. People were worried about how things were going to go. And then the summer hit. July, he hit 363 with a 1200 OPS. In August, he had 8 home runs and 18 RBI as well. Had an OPS of 886. So things really took off for him. Then a little quiet September. So I feel like there's opportunity where maybe the best version of Lawrence Butler we haven't seen yet. He's got power. He's got speed. Unfortunately, just doesn't have everything that we've been looking for in terms of his return on investment. I think that's the problem. People are getting frustrated. He's got 6 homers and 7 steals on the year, but he's hitting just 228 with a 683 OPS. And to me, I just think there's better days potentially. And we know he's capable of getting hot enough that he could just carry your entire fantasy team.
One thing I wonder is he made a pretty concerted swing change midway through last year, and that correlated with the struggles into the good stuff. And we were really thinking that good stuff was going to carry over. There's a lot of stuff in his game right now, which is actually relatively worrisome. If you're playing that game, he's really only doing damage off of fastballs. He's not pulling the ball in the air. His own contact is down and all of that. Those are things we absolutely should take serious. But in the same token, he is barreling up the ball. He is hitting the ball harder than he did last year. He hasn't really raised his strikeout rate. But one interesting thing on Baseball Savant, when you go and take a look at some of the Statcast swing data, is you look at ideal attack angle, where the bat is attacking on the ball, and he's regressed in that by about 4 degrees, which is reminiscent more of 2 years ago when he kind of struggled. So I wonder if there is a really pointed place where he can kind of get back to retooling that swing, because some of the good underlying stuff is still floating out there. It's just they're all correlating to each other. He's not pulling the ball, and he's not making as much zone contact because of the attack angle. So that's just being kind of nerdy with some of it. There isn't supportive expected batting average stuff in his game, but at the end of the day, I think he's a wildly talented player who had a huge pop off in the back half of the year in a minor league ballpark, and we know his counting stats are loud. So it's a little different than a guy with a huge track record where we're there's not a lot of supportive stuff, but we have this track record. We know who he is. We kind of don't. I'm willing to take the risk that I think frustrated owners out there that paid really high capitals could be I just don't want any part of this. Even if they search, there's no supportive data, blah, 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 I would be jumping on the opportunity to buy Lawrence Butler right now.
Yeah, I just think there's more upside there. Ballpark, too, this summer should work out for him, too. Things have not worked out in the month of May for Kristian Campbell. He got off to a great start to his career here in April and March, a 301 batting average, a 902 OPS, but the month of May has been not too kind for him. 11 games for him in May, a .085 batting average, a 149 slugging, a 253 OPS. I mean, he is just top hitting completely. He may be working out at first base too, and be the solution possibly to the Red Sox first base issue. But I think that's just to make sure he stays in the lineup at this point, because Marcel O'Meara looks like he is going to be working out at second base, and he could be up sooner than later too. So that could squeeze Kristian Campbell out of some playing time somewhere if he doesn't start hitting a little bit. So, Welsh, I don't know what's going on here with Campbell, but this is a player historically in the minor leagues that's made really good contact. You mentioned power speed combination. He's got all of those tools. I think this is a unique spot where maybe the league's adjusted to him. He hasn't adjusted quite back yet. And maybe there's a window where you can pluck him off somebody else's roster and put him on yours.
There's definitely a possibility that he's just going through it. You know what I mean? Rookies are going to go through it at some point. April 30th, he was hitting 300. So that is a pretty dramatic drop since April 30th that he's all the way down to 230. But kind of in a Lawrence Butler-ish way, barreling is kind of in that same realm. He's hitting the ball pretty hard. Strikeouts are a little bit higher. Expected batting average is a tiny bit higher than where he's at, around 240 right now. I think you would like to see him do is be maybe a little less passive. He walks around 11% of the time, but maybe swing in the zone a little bit more, get a tiny bit more aggressive. The thing that works in his favor is his first base thing, because you could see if he keeps struggling that you could just move on to like a Roman Anthony and Mayer could take over second. But if he puts himself in a position where he is the first baseman because they don't have anybody else, he's going to get a lot longer of a leash. And I honestly think that leash is long anyways for this team. So it's a good home ballpark. He's shown a really good early part of the season. He has to readjust to the league. So maybe, if you owned him, you want to bench him for a little bit. But if someone is maybe thinking about cutting him or just trying to get out from him, I think it's a pretty good time the back half of the year. Not uncommon for young hitters to struggle early on in the season, a la Jackson Chourio, and bounce back at the back half. And I think Christian Campbell is one of those guys. So I agree with you. I'm a buy on Christian Campbell.
You mentioned some loud counting stats. Well, Oneil Cruz has those. He's got 8 homers, 16 stolen bases, but the batting average has dropped precipitously in the last few games. He's also been dealing with a back issue too. So this makes a tenuous buying experience for him. He is still hitting right-handed pitching at a really good clip, a 914 OPS, 274 batting average, but against lefties this year, hitting just a $114 with a 491 OPS. So those splits are not great. In the month of May so far, he's hitting 150. So frustration definitely abound. He has no homers in the month of May, but also this back issue, he had missed some time. He's been striking out a ton, so it looks like the health is an issue. But Welsh, more to that point, it's certainly frustrating for people who manage him right now to be looking at the asset of Oneil Cruz and not knowing what to do. I think there's an opportunity to buy him and maybe, hopefully, if he does go on the IL for 10 days, get rested, get right, and then come back to being the player that we saw in April. But regardless, the power-speed combination is there for him, and he is a huge fantasy asset. Risky, but is he worth the reward for you?
Yes, this would be the number one on the list of the guys that we're talking about that I would want to be aggressive for, because I also think I've always known what I'm getting in for with Oneil Cruz, and I figured he's like a 250, 260 hitter. I think there's more power to be had. I think the stolen bases are speaking for itself. He stole 22 last year. He's got 16 right now, and he's hitting 223. I think the back issue is a clear correlation to some of the struggles because his underlying stats are of the elite of elite. I mean, 22% barrel percentage, 60% hard hit rate. That's at the top of the league. He's walking 15% of the time. He's averaging 96 mile an hour X velocity, which is ridiculous. He's hitting the ball crazy, and he's struggling against fastballs, which I just don't think is sticky. I don't think that's going to stay. Fastball, four-seam fastball, he's got a 100-point batting average differential between what he's actually hitting and the expected batting average, which is over 300 expected on four-seam fastballs. So I think Oneil Cruz, once I almost just hit the IL, give him more value if you need to, get the back right. But I think his counting stats are so loud, even if it's a bad team, he's always going to hit at the top, that if you got frustrated owners with the average, and he's a little bit weirder. Butler actually might be a lot more acquirable, but I would try to be aggressive to get Oneil Cruz because I do think he is going to bounce back.
I agree with you. Cruz will cost more, but at the end of the day, I think you're probably getting what you pay for there. So I would be looking for Cruz too. Butler is a nice consolation prize. Looking to a pitcher to buy low too. This one kind of jumped out at me, and I've never really been a Ronel Blanco believer, but I've got to give him some credit here. Right now, the ERA is at 4.10. The expected ERA is a full run lower at 2.95. If you look at the K per 9, it's held year over year too. I was skeptical that was going to happen. It was 8.93 last year, K per 9. This year, 8.94. The walk rate is still a little higher than I want it to be. But my thinking with Blanco is if you continue on this route where he keeps pitching well, Jordan Alvarez comes back, you see Cam Smith starting to pick up in the last week or so, maybe the Astros have a little bit of a bump coming in the weeks ahead for them when Alvarez gets healthy in that lineup, providing more support, that Blanco could be a good addition to the back end of a fantasy rotation. What are your thoughts? I know not a big name, but maybe a contributor if you've got guys on the IL that you might be able to pluck him off somebody else's roster, put him on yours, and actually benefit.
Yeah, I think from like a low-end PC or fantasy rotation, he might be one of those guys where a team is completely indifferent about owning him. Expected ERA is definitely in his favor, as you mentioned. Under 3 is pretty impressive. He's not getting hit hard. It's actually bottom 7 percentile, or I guess you would say top percentile, 7 percentile of the league as far as like hard hit against, which is going to be low. He's not the strikeouts to walk ratio. It's like a 14 K minus walk percentage, which I don't think is very impressive. His strikeout rate's not really, I mean, even if you individualize it, strikeout rate's not super impressive. The walk rate is pretty negative, but the expected ERA is telling us a much different story for a team that could, be getting some more offensive support for wins. So I think he could be one of those guys, as you said, where teams are just kind of like whatever about it, and there's some more juice to squeeze for Ronel Blanco.
All right, those are the guys we want to buy. Before we get to the ones we want to maybe think about selling, don't forget to use the trade analyzer so you can get smarter fantasy baseball trades done. The trade analyzer instantly evaluates trades that benefit you and your team and your opponents as well. To see potential trades and how they affect each roster is crucial to making good decisions. And of course, you want to make sure that you're making all of those decisions today using the trade analyzer with Fantasy Baseball My Playbook app, or just go to fantasypros.com/MLB My Playbook. Let's talk about the curious case of Ben Rice, another guy that started off red hot this year, May starting to slow down a little bit. And you look at the total numbers right here for Ben Rice. Sure, you love the 9 homers. You see the Baseball Savant page is still very strong for him. The expected batting average is much higher. But I wonder if also we're looking at not only another league adjustment here to a player, but maybe a market where people might overpay a little for Ben Rice. Tristan Casas out for the year. Christian Walker still sluggish, to say the least. Torkelson coming back down to earth. It's a lot of teams I feel like are looking for some corner help or first base help, especially in deeper leagues. I wonder if you could sell Ben Rice off of what he's done so far, maybe higher than what the expectations might be for the rest of the season. Now, I know that's a tough sell for you because you are an OG Ben Rice guy. I like Rice as well. I just kind of wonder right now if the marketplace demands that maybe it's worth kicking the tires on a deal for him.
Probably worth seeing. I just don't think Ben Rice is the guy that moves that market right now because he's underperforming. In May, he's hitting only 217. His baseball, so I mean, I guess again, like the person that you're looking at, it depends. If someone is in like I want to buy Ben Rice because this is a good opportunity, look at his Savant page, look at the underlying skill set, then maybe they'd be a little bit more aggressive. But he's, he's tanked like 300 points or 50 points in his batting average. May has really stunk as well, and they're going to move around that lineup. I'm kind of more of a buyer. I don't think it's worth selling Ben Rice under where he was like 3 weeks ago. So if you've got someone that's just really desperate to try to get in, before Ben Rice kind of bounces back, needs first base, I would listen to it. I'd want equal market value, which is equal market value to how Ben Rice has moved up. But honestly, I'm probably more of a buy on Ben Rice than I am as a sell, but it's all going to be market dependent there. Because I do think that Ben Rice is going to bounce back. Really bad month, but he's still hitting 250 overall. The underlying profile is just so incredible. The ballpark works well. But these are all things I'm saying that might move the market of why you could trade him, not at a low.
Kyle Stowers, I think, is playing over his head just a bit right now. Last year, he had 3 homers and 209 plate appearances. This year, he has 10 in 178. He's hitting 300. That's 100 points higher year over year. And although in the Baseball Savant page, there's some red, there's a bunch of not so red when you're looking at some of the whiff percentages, the K percentages. And when you start to dig in a little deeper too, the BABIP right now is at 389. So that is an extremely high number. I would say, dare I say, Welsh, unsustainable. So Stowers to me is another one too, where this might be the peak of this player. I wonder if you can get somebody to overpay, go to the Brian Reynolds manager who's losing their mind right now of why he hasn't hit, and maybe make an odd trade that you look back on and say, what a steal. I don't think Stowers carries a ton of big name brand recognition, but he has had a really good start to the season. Those numbers look really strong right now.
The Reynolds thing is really interesting that you said, because I agree with you. So like Ben Rice, the Savant sliders are all red, top percentiles. He's barreling like crazy, 23%. It's ridiculous. Hard hit rate, 52%, ridiculous. The 10 homers are up there. He's hitting 300. There's a ton of juice. I'm really worried about his ability, though, to not strike out and chase, and that's going to get to him. 29% K percentage is really bad. Middle of the pack of bad as far as like whiff goes. And he's got a little bit of overperforming. Like he's doing everything off of fastball. So run value on him with fastballs is like a 6. So, ones are just kind of indifferent. All of the value of what he's doing is off of fastballs. So you're going to start to have the league kind of readjust as well. Mm-hmm. What's that going to look like? I actually think Stowers can still be relatively like valuable, but I think this is like a prime spot to trade him if he starts to dip down to like a 260 hitter. Those Ks are a big problem, and that jumps out to me more with him versus it does Ben Rice, who's around a 23% strikeout guy.
The Diamondbacks rotation's been volatile, to say the least, this year. And Brandon Pfaadt right now has a 3.81 ERA, but the expected ERA is at 6.33. Welsh, that seems like winter is coming for Brandon Pfaadt, and bad times could be ahead. I think you try to move on before that happens. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. I love Brandon Pfaadt. I think is the league leader in wins right now, which I think really holds up the value. You got the Diamondbacks offense. You've got an under 4 ERA. You've got the league leader in wins. All those work out. But strikeouts are down 18%. You mentioned the expected ERA. It's bonkers. He's getting hit pretty harder than he's ever done before. Guys are barreling on him. And the expected batting average on his fastball, it's currently 258, but the expected is 344. It's not a good fastball. He's got to live off of the secondaries, the sweeper and the changeup. I don't know how much he can do it. He's going to have some regression. He's a huge home run problem. If you can sell Brandon Pfaadt as this sub-4 ERA league-leading winner, I'm very comfortable with doing it.
All right, there you have it, everybody. Those are the names we're looking to move on from or move on to our rosters. Drop your comments below. Let us know who you're trying to buy low or sell high right now, make a deal with, and you might win yourself a Jose Ramirez jersey from pristineauction.com. Just subscribe to Fantasy Pros MLB, drop your comments below, ring the bell till it goes ding, and that Jose Ramirez jersey could be yours. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on for the Welsh. I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.